Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the podcast, another episode of Caffeine and Green with your man, Connor Cardenas. And per usual, before we get into it, I just want to make sure that you guys are coming through to 3072 El Cajon Boulevard. That's right. We have the Caffeine and Green brick and mortar. If you guys haven't been here already, you're slipping. You got to get over here. Come through. I can make you some coffee. You can get any of the bags that are available here at the shop. We're talking about the Bendiciones, that single origin Guatemala, that El Cajon Boulevard, the single origin Ethiopia Masha. We also have the Notorious left for a limited amount of time. And then we have, of course, the classic, the Issa blend. It's dark, it's chocolatey, it's bold, it's amazing. Guys, I definitely think you should be coming in. And if you want, you can just get a latte, any cup of coffee that you'd like. And then also, if you'd like to get any merch, shirts, mugs, anything like that, everything is available here at the shop every single day. We are open Tuesday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., Sundays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Monday, we are closed for roasting. So, guys, make sure to come through. All right. My guests today are some old friends of mine, but it's very interesting because I didn't know exactly what they did. I know both of them worked in skateboarding. I'm talking about Joshua Rowe and Doug Works. Doug works for the Board Retailers Association. He helps skate shops, surf shops, snowboard shops, all that, cut down costs, increase margins, just helping out the little guy. And also he works with Rollin From The Heart. Joshua, he actually works for the CSEF, which is the College Skateboarding Educational Foundation. They're doing amazing things for skateboarders who want to go to college by providing scholarships to help them get there. I love that. And he also works for Rollin From The Heart. So they're both doing amazing things separately and then one thing together. And it's just amazing. It was so inspirational and so informative. And it's one of my favorite conversations that I've had in a long time. So without further ado, my man, Doug Works, Joshua Rowe. This is your time to shine, homies. Let's go. Caffeine and Green. It's your boy Connor. What's good? Good. Caffeine and Green. And we're live. Gentlemen, welcome to Caffeine and Green.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
I got Doug Works right here. Doug, say hello.
Hello, I'm Doug.
And I got my boy Josh. Do you want Joshua or Josh?
Josh is totally fine with everyone.
Josh is totally fine. All right. Josh. Guys, I am super stoked to have you on board. You guys came in the shop the other day, and I knew as soon as you walked in, I was like, damn, I have to have you guys on the show. Like, not only because I knew, Josh, I've known you from Steel Mill when you were like coming in there.
Yeah, pretty much from Steel Mill, I think from day one once they started up off Mission and just stopping in there on the weekends to do work and everything.
Dude, yeah, you were editing like footage.
Yeah, I'd be in there pretty much like, I think I met you, like I was working on photo work, some skate stuff, and then a lot of it times too, I was coming in and working on CSEF projects.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And that was, I remember that. You were sitting by the records.
Yeah, I'd always just sit in the back. And
yeah.
I had one table. I was like, coming. I was like, as long as I'm making it this time, no one will sit there. Yeah. I got it. I'm good.
It's the one that was like, we didn't have any outlets, but there was like one outlet that was right there, right? Or was it? Okay.
And it would like sometimes work, and I'm like, just give it a shot.
I went in there and used that one outlet before.
Dude, there you go. I love it.
Shay took care of me in there. It was great.
Dude, shout out to Shay. Yeah, like you guys were laughing because his photo was right there. I'm like, dude, yeah. I had to have it if like, this is the podcast studio. Who better than to have the first podcast guest ever, and that was Shay.
You can't go wrong with Shay on the wall.
You can never go wrong with Shay on the wall. Never.
And he rips.
Dude, he rips so hard. He actually just had a new part, too, that came out with the Blvd collaboration.
All his footage from New York and stuff from last year. So good.
Dude, he said he went back and he landed, I think it was his first trick that he ate
the one that he dies on,
Yeah. He went back and he's like, dude, I just literally landed it. And I was like, did you really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, fuck, that's tight that you did it though. And he showed it to me too. I was like, damn son, that was super sick,
Takes a lot to go back for sure.
Dude, especially when you're cross country. Like he's like, I'm going back to get that trick. It's like, damn, dude, that's
a lot of pressure.
That's determination. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
It's a lesson for all those listeners out there.
Dude, just got to keep going, baby. Got to keep going. But Doug, and then we were talking about this right before the podcast. Dude, I've known you since like early 20s, if not maybe earlier than that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I moved to San Diego County in 1998, January of 98. I drove across the country from Florida.
Damn. What part of Florida specifically?
Well, I grew up in Tampa, and I mean, it was the absolute best skate scene. You know, we had an amazing skate scene with the guys from, you know, Mike Dare, John Montesi, guys like Lance and Scott Conklin and Bo Turner, and it was just an absolutely amazing skateboarding scene. It was kind of the precursor to the skate park of Tampa. We used to skate the mini ramp underneath the vert ramp in Paul Zitzer's warehouse, and it was just absolutely an epic scene. All kinds of skate shops with parking lot contests, and such an amazing scene for sure. And I just had a great time growing up there and skateboarding there, and then went off and went to college in Orlando, and then ended up driving across the country and coming out to San Diego for grad school.
UCSD, USD?
USD, University of San Diego. Yep.
Damn, dude. All right, there you go. I looked into their master's program. I was like, I cannot hack that. But, dude, good for you.
Thank you. It was a lot of work, but it was amazing, and I was able to take advantage of these study abroad programs. So I was able to travel a little bit.
Where did you go?
I went to central Mexico, like Monterrey, Mexico, for this kind of doing business in Mexico class. I went to Barcelona, Spain.
Did you really?
It was amazing. I lived there for 3 weeks. It was absolutely incredible. I studied at the ASADE. I took this international investments course. It was unbelievable. That's my favorite city in the entire world.
Yeah.
And then the last place I went, and I actually didn't even need this class to graduate, but I couldn't pass it up. I went to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, for this like kind of joint venture business consulting class at the Copiage, the federal university there in Rio, and it was absolutely incredible, just a remarkable experience, and so glad I did it for sure.
Damn, dude. That's amazing. How old were you when you did that?
I was in my 20s. I moved out here when I was 24 years old in 1998. Yeah.
Wow, dude. So you were like dropping hammers early in the 20s. Like, yo, people like, you meet people in their 20s now. I mean, unless they're doing something cool, they're not going to all those places. You're like, that's pretty dope, dude.
Yeah, it was, I feel like the more that one travels, the more that one experiences life, the more well-rounded you become, and the better person that you can become for sure. I learned a lot in those travels and other travels around the world for sure.
Dude, that's awesome. I completely agree with that, actually. I feel like my mind was definitely shut off to certain things, but then once I started traveling, especially abroad, countries that you don't know the languages, or just, I remember going to like the island of Saipan. It's like the island's like 7 miles wide, 15 miles long. It's literally like in the middle of nowhere, and it's right next to the Mariana Trench. Like,
wow.
The second deepest place on the planet.
Yeah,
but
just
it's
middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere in Tinian's, the island right next to it, and that's where they actually launched the atomic bomb from. Or they, took off.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, yeah, what's crazy about Saipan is that they have a suicide cove, because it was a lot of different cultures have taken over that place. I guess I don't know how to
Been colonized.
Yeah,
like
colonized it. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a better way to put it. But the Japanese had it during World War II, but the Japanese propaganda had told, like, the Americans are coming and they're just going to kill all your families and kill everybody and just do, like, rape your women type stuff. And they had this cove, and they believed that it was better to commit suicide off this cove in droves than it was to get taken by the Americans. And so, it is this beautiful cliff. It's amazing. And it's so, like, I'm colorblind, and I could see the colors there. It was so gnarly. And when you're there, they have it translated into, like, I believe, like, 4 languages. And it's basically, it was like this monument saying, like, hey, we never want this to happen again. Like, this was an atrocity, essentially. And we really, like, want to have a better outcome for the future of all people, of all places and things, color, regardless of color, race, whatever. And my friend, oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Anyways, her family, like, runs that island, and so they erected that thing. Yeah, it was super crazy. So it was heavy, but
Yeah.
It's like being in those places, you get to experience those things, and it really just gives you more of a perspective on how in a really weird way, like how big the world is, but how small it is at the same time. Because like in a hop, skip, and a jump, you're already in another place, whether it's 15 hours, 20 hours, but you're there and you're experiencing a completely different culture or language or anything, and you come back, you're never the same.
That's for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure, yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, kind of like, that's another reason why I wanted to have you guys on the show, is that like what you guys are doing. Like we were talking before Josh got here that I remember you were doing stuff with Damn Am. I remember getting like, you know, applying to get into Damn Am and like sending my footage and like getting spots at like the Damn Am in New York and like doing these things, but always seeing you and then always just knowing that how you were involved in the skate community. And it's like, no matter where you go in the world, if you like have made it to that pinnacle level of like either talent or just working in the industry, the circle gets so small and you know everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up with all those guys from skate park at Tampa, you know, Brian Schaefer, of course, who's been doing a tremendous job the entire time, and you know, Ryan Clements, who, you know, before they left to start the Border and all that stuff, Rob Marinek, all those guys, I you know, would skate with those guys, you know, every single week, and you know, got to know them really well, for sure.
Yeah, it's a small world. I mean, I don't think I told you, but like when I came in prior to me and Doug coming in, I came like one day before just to finally like get to try it out here.
Yeah.
And there's this kid in here, and started chatting with him, ended up being from Ohio, and I just happened to have like, it's the same, like you said, like through skateboarding, like if you skate well enough or just like continue skating long enough and make friends and like actually try and venture out of your zone, you're going to start meeting people. And I have a bunch of friends from Ohio, and I was like, hey, do you know these guys? Like, yeah. He's like, they're like a few years older than me, but he's like, how do you know them? I was like, oh, like they used to live down the road from me. Like they're all good friends of mine. Like one of the dudes still is a filmer out here, and he's just like, I just moved out here like 6 months ago. And he's like, I moved to Ramona. And I was like, that's how you get like a small like world. Just like,
well, that's the beauty of skateboarding too. I mean, you don't even have to speak the same language. You can go to Thailand and not speak a lick of Thai and start skating, and another skateboarder will approach you and befriend you, and it's absolutely amazing.
Dude, I have a personal story, very, very related to that. I was living in Aix-en-Provence in the south of France, and I don't even remember. It was like my first day walking around with my mom. My mom was like showing me the neighborhood, and she's like, yeah, sweetie, and we're like going by this cemetery, and I don't even think she had noticed it, but I noticed it immediately. There was a skate park, and I was like, oh shit, like hell yeah. Dude, I remember my board that I had. It was the flip boards that were like the peace signs.
Oh yeah, the red, white, and blue one.
I had the American flag one with the peace hand, and then like they had like the French, like Tom Penny with the French flag, and like the British one with Jeff Rowley. And so I had that, and I remember like taking it, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna come back and skate this, you know, like okay. So I think one day after I got out of school, I like grabbed my board or I'd already had it with me or something, and I was just off by myself, you know, just being a 17-year-old kid in France. And I went to the skate park and I spoke French, but my French was not as good as theirs. I mean, they've been speaking French their whole lives. So I was like speaking French, and then at one point I couldn't, there was something that had happened where there was a complete block. Like I couldn't communicate anymore. We couldn't say anything, but I had heard them say kickflip, and I was like, yo, you speak English? And they're like, no, you know.
It's universal.
Yeah, something like
it's
that.
Universal.
Dude, skateboarding is a universal language. So when it came to it, like I lived there for 3 months. When I would go skate with them, they'd be like, kickflip, 5-stair. Or they would say like sank, you know, whatever the word for stair was, but kickflip. And I'd be like, oui, d'accord, you know, or like, and then just go over and do it. We're fucking around and having a good time. And it was so amazing that it was skateboarding, that like whatever barrier I had been built because of lack of communication or not being able to do whatever it was, that was the situation, skateboarding mended that and helped me overcome that language barrier. And then just like I made friends in France, and it was super dope, you know.
It's awesome.
Dude.
It's so cool. I lived with Nilton Neves for a couple of years. He used to skate for Santa Cruz and Russell Libre and so many other companies, and just an amazing artist. The guy could have done anything, but you know, he chose skateboarding and absolutely ruled at skateboarding. And we had this crazy backyard ramp where he would invite all of these Brazilians over, you know, And I spoke a little bit of Portuguese, and I would like listen to cassettes, this is
Yep.
like early on kind of thing, and learn a little bit more. But once I lived with him, and Fabricio Santos and all these other guys would come over and we'd start like talking, I learned it like a lot better.
Well, you're
kind of thing.
using it, right? You're practicing.
Yeah, they say if you don't use it, you lose it. Same
Dude.
with Spanish. I grew up, learning like Cuban Spanish in Florida,
we were talking about
and
this.
it's a little bit different than Mexican Spanish, but the more you use it, the better you get at it, kind of thing, for sure.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. And it's so funny, the East Coast Spanish too, because like I was just watching a Bad Bunny, like a new Bad Bunny music video with my roommate, and we go to Mexico a couple times a week generally, or I'm in Mexico just to go visit one of my accounts over in Tecate. But like when you hear like those East Coast, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, like speaking Spanish, it's different. It's so different, and it's even different like in Barcelona. In Barcelona, it's
It's definitely different in Barcelona. Like, for example, in French, the word exit, sortir, right? Sortir.
this right here. There you
It's
go.
sortir
Yeah.
in French, right? In Spanish, it's salida.
Salida, yeah.
So in the Catalan, right, the language of Barcelona, it's sortida.
Oh,
So it's
just a
almost like a
mix.
mix. It's really wild. Yeah. So they understand your Spanish, but you don't understand their Catalan very well.
Oh,
It's
dude,
definitely
yeah.
different for sure.
It's one of the most unique languages that I could be wrong, but I believe it's Portuguese.
Yep.
It's a like a branch off of Spanish, French, Arabic, and then like something else. And I was like, Arabic? No fucking wonder, bro. Like it's all over the place. Like
it's definitely more difficult. Like if you think about Spanish, you've got a, e, I, o, u, right? And Portuguese, you've got all these what they call diphthongs, right? These blends of sounds, right? And so there's like 20 different sounds, and there's like a nasally sound, and there's like all of these different sounds, and things that you think are the words are not the words.
then
So
it's like all open to interpretation and how you deliver it and like
it's not
like that?
like tonal like an Asian language. It's not like that so much, but it's definitely more difficult from that perspective. But it's also such a beautiful language.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's very like I remember the first time I heard somebody speaking Portuguese, I was like, I remember just staring at them like, I feel like they're speaking Spanish, but I was like, I don't know what the fuck they're saying. Like
Yeah.
nothing at all. Like
Good phrase to remember. Muito legal. Muito legal. It's
Muito legal.
like very cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Muito legal.
Oh, está chito. But okay, sorry, I digress a little bit. But like, dude, I feel like we can definitely talk like for a long time about just life. Sure. But to stay on track, so Josh, I'll start with you. So you work for the CSEF, that is the College Skateboarding Educational Foundation.
Yeah.
Boom. I got it. Now, do both of you work for it? Or
No.
Just
Josh?
me.
Okay.
No, although I do support their efforts, they're a Board Retailers Association community partner.
Okay.
So what that translates into is when we see really cool posts, like they're about to give away a scholarship, we promote that to all of the skate shops around the country and that kind of thing.
Oh, sick. Okay. So yeah, I mean, tell me, for everybody who doesn't know, including myself, just to educate me a little bit more, tell me what you do specifically for them. What does your foundation do, and how does it help people around the world? And just, is it domestic? Is it?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with it. So pretty much it's domestic, so it's just for U.S. only.
Okay.
Currently, right now, it's just kind of like easier legality-wise and stuff too, and that way we open it up to where it's like, we don't be like, oh, we're going to take over the world. Like, if another country wants to do it, like, we've definitely had people reach out to us asking about it, and we're more than happy to, like, help, kind of explain, like, how we've done it all. But essentially, it got started, we're on our 5th year now, so the original founders were Tommy Barker, Pat Sison, Keegan Gizzard, who's the executive director still, Neftali Williams, who's the professor over at USC that a lot of people know, so technically it's like Dr. Neftali Williams, and then
USC?
Ian Smiles, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
USC, so he
dude
teaches like
rules.
the
That guy
skateboarding.
rules. Yeah, he wrote that report and all that.
He does a report,
yeah.
but you can go like if you like USC offers a skateboarding like 101 class, and he's the professor for that, so you can go and actually like learn about skateboarding like in an academic setting. Like he's a man who's like
Can't argue with that.
yeah, he's like done the actual like academic research, which is in terms of just like one individual to point out in skateboarding who's doing that. There's a big difference, and people knows who are going to school too is like when you want to like study like a culture or community or anything and you want to do it in an academic setting, it's great. Like other people typically come in or like interested in the subject and do it. But the issue is that you're having usually like an outsider tell the story of this community. And then that's where you see historically, like in a lot of like marginalized groups is like, we're probably the best example, not saying skateboarding is, but like when you look at it and they're like, well, that's not really our story because it's just someone coming from the outside who's not really trying to be involved with us.
Yeah.
And someone like Neftali, he's like, I grew up skating. Like I've worked in the skate industry. Like he worked for City Skateboards, like all that kind of stuff. TM'd. It's like, yo, like I know this. I'm going to school. I'm already like smart enough to do this. He's like, I'm going to start writing about skateboarding and like being the academic of skateboarding, because once we start having these other people get into skateboarding and start writing about it from the outside, it's really easy to watch like the tale of skateboarding, like how people, like most people in the academic space think about skateboarding. It can get like real skewed real quick because it's someone who's never done it. Because you do have that opportunity, like when you're doing an academic, like you can go through research something, but he's like, I've done this. He's like, yeah, there's some bias maybe with that, but he can come in here and reach out to the right people that you want to talk about to get like the accurate story and all of that. So Neftali was awesome. Ian Smiles on there doing like a lot of the creative direction. And then pretty much how I got on there is like one of the original founders was Brian Blakely, who is part of Transworld Skateboarding. Now he does some other marketing work, but he's actually part of that new skate shop opening up 6s and 7s in Rancho Penasquito with like Paul, Jamie Owens, like all the guys, kind of like a lot of the crew from Transworld, like that was at the tail end of it.
Damn, Jamie Owens, I haven't heard that name in a hot second,
right?
dude.
Yeah, so it's like Brian Blakely was rad, and then he just had to pull out for some stuff, so I ended up like kind of getting brought into the fold. And it's a rad board now. I mean, it's still me, Thomas Barker, Keegan's the executive director still, Pat Season, like me and him pretty much do like all the art creative direction with it. And then we have Ashley Martinez, who's rad. He's been like a great advocate within the community too. And then we just added Justin Regan, who a lot of people will know from the man who kind of like really made like Soul Tech in America, like did all the cool shit. Like he's the man behind the American Mansion. Like
dude, that was him?
That's him. Like
wow.
that was like his main, like one thing that like, not his main thing they did, but if there's like one where a lot of people be like, why do I know that name? You're like, the American Mansion. Like he was part of that. And then he was at Vans. He's pretty much like what the person who helped like develop the Vans skateboarding department to where it is now. Like he's that guy who like helped build it up, and he like just
team direction or
helped with team direction, did product development, all that. But he's just been, because of his work within the skate industry for so long, he's such a well connected and well like loved person. Like everyone really enjoys him, that he like did put in the work, helped develop it all. And he's a dude, he's like, when you look at like where's Vans skateboarding today, he's like one of the keystones behind that is Justin Regan, and now he's involved with us, which is rad.
Damn, dude.
But yeah, it kind of came together as pretty much Keegan Gizzard's kind of like the first kickoff of it, because he was doing a skate contest and he just did collegiate skate. So pretty much it was a skateboarding tour that went across the U.S., kind of did like the four corners, like just northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest, and just threw skate contests on for people who were going to college. It just as a way to like network, like, oh, okay, like you're a skateboarder, I'm a skater, you go to school, I go to school, like what's your major? Just to like build that network, because it is really hard. You go to school and you kind of like, I mean, we all know, like you finish high school, and if you're a skateboarder, depending like where you're at nowadays, it's a way different, but like go
back in the day, dude, it wasn't, no, what I was gonna say to that is like, dude, it wasn't, you didn't really see a lot of skateboarders that were good in college. There's like, oh yeah, I skate, but they had like a longboard and they're like pushing.
Right, yeah, you get that like real division where someone's like, I skate. I had that. I had friends who were like, oh, like, do you want to come skate with us? I'm like, sure. Like, I didn't know you skated. They're like, yeah, meet up. And then I go and I'm like, you guys are all on longboards. And it's like no disrespect, but they're also like the ones who are like not even into downhill. Like they're just kind of like, like I'm a skateboarder. And I'm like, cool, but like this is a very different, like we're on different wavelengths here. Not to be like me.
There's some core skaters though with degrees.
Oh, there's
John Rattray. I mean,
there's
Roddy Mullen.
Yeah, Roddy Mullen has one. Like, and it's gotten more now, but like at the time it was like it's definitely growing a lot more. But like it was small, so like he did this as a way to network at like the grassroots level. Would do all these contests. I mean, that's how I know Brandon. That's how I met Brandon. Brandon used to come to this contest because they would have like a youth division too. And like a little bit younger, and then he was doing that like 17, 18 because he was already in community college.
What?
That's how I know Brandon. Yeah, that's how I strictly have like straight up met Brandon, was like from like the skate scene here, but then like he started doing the collegiate skate, and that's like, and he used to go and crush them.
Dude, I mean,
yeah,
dude, he just posted a story that he did or like, sorry, he posted some footage of a contest that he just did, and I was watching it, and I was like, yo, like, how long ago was that? He's like, dude, that was last weekend. I was like, that was last weekend? I was like, dude, he did like back 180 Bennett grind to like 180 out down a hubba, and I was like, bro, you can do that? I was like, I know you're good. I've skated with you, but I was like, you're fucking good, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy.
That's like the cool part, because it's like when those events were going on, it's like you go and meet someone who you're just like, oh, like, what are you studying? And it's really cool. Like, Will knows as skateboarders, it's like, that's like our cool connection. And then historically, like whenever we see it covered in like magazines and stuff, or like when you see friendships, a lot of people get into like the same art stuff. Like that's always been a big thing. It's like, oh, we connected over art. We connected over like photography. Like I was a painter. Like you do this, that, whatever. Like socioeconomic backgrounds. Like I came from a broken home. You did too. But then to add in like, oh, like I'm going to school for this. You're like, wait, you study that? Like I do like something similar. Blah, blah. And it's just like one more connection.
Yeah, but another bridge.
It's another bridge. I mean, for me, like, and I'll backtrack before getting back on course with CSEF. Like, I came out here and like I kind of came from a broken home family. Like, moved out to California in 2004 from Pennsylvania.
Oh, where?
I'm from Philadelphia originally, and then I moved out here from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
So
okay. I went to school in Erie.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Penn State Barron. Penn State Barron College. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. I was out there, bud.
Dude, that's out. Yeah. I was out in Upper St. Clair. So I was like down in like the weird like half suburbs, half like farmland zone out there in Pittsburgh. So it's it was definitely like a culture shock coming out here.
Oh, I can imagine.
But I mean, like I came and started skating at the Encinitas YMCA, but a lot of the kids there who I even met like early on, like kind of had the same like divorced families or like parents who just kind of got remarried. So like kind of had that similar background, even though there's definitely like different, like some of those kids had like loaded money, whatever, but it was cool. Like skateboarding was that connection. And that definitely got me through like high school, a lot of stuff. But like when I went to college, I was like starting to look at schools. I'm like, well, okay, like I want to go for my degree, but I definitely was starting to get anxiety because I'd moved around so much even in high school that I was like, I like want to go and have friends. I don't want to lose all my friends back here. And I think I ended up going to Cal State Northridge, which
oh yeah, in the Valley.
Yeah, San Fernando Valley. It's like real famous school. It's like where Paul Rodriguez is from. That's like his hometown. Like
dude, that whole college is a skate park.
It's a whole skate park. There's
a skate park.
So many historic spots there. But
a lot of colleges. Like I used to skate 16 miles from where we lived in Tampa to the University of South Florida, and we would skate all the way there, like public domain style, all the way there.
Just hitting spots
along the way, and then get there, and there were stair sets and handrails and banks and benches and all kinds of things. Like colleges have the best skate spots around.
Low key, those dudes who build them are like,
those architects,
sick ass spots.
Those architects for sure.
Yep.
But I like lucked out that first year and met a lot of skateboarders who from like all different levels, from like same as me, like freshmen to like seniors. Like my first year there was Gantry Hills last year of college at Cal State Northridge.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to be like, oh shit, like Gantry Hill goes to school here, and like my friends are friends with him, like got to skate with his crew, and like
dude, we probably know a lot of the same people in the Valley.
Oh.
I met Gantry, Garrett and Gantry, the brothers, because they would come and skate flat ground with me and Paul and Nigel and like Brian Score, Val, Mike Mo, like
probably
all those dudes.
For sure all the mixes. I mean, like I had all that, like so many friends in that. We easily have a bunch.
Did
of
you ever
there.
skate the Chatsworth Courthouse, the flat ground?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. Oh, dude, if we were full, we definitely skated together for sure without even knowing.
I pretty much like once I was up there, like the crew, and this is because I'm like I know like I'm a bit younger, but like once I was going to school there, a lot of the dudes that I skated with all came up through like, oh my god, why am I in a blank on the park right now?
Pedlo.
Sorry.
Dude, oh yeah, we definitely know the same people there.
So
for sure.
Pedlo. So like my whole crew of like friends who've like since come and stayed with me are like Felix Soto, who's like the new Baker filmer. Like he does all of that. Like I knew Cater when he was like 8 years old. Like all of those.
Wait,
like,
how old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay.
So like when I was there like 10 years ago, like almost a long time now.
Yeah,
Like now that I have to like think about that and put that in, it's like they were all like little babies, like T-Funk, like Zach Allen, and then like Connor Frost, who like I went to school with. Like all these people from there like started going to school to like Cal State Northridge and stuff, and then even like I think my freshman or sophomore year, like one of the friends I made, and it's super cool because I'm like proud of where he's gone within like his skateboarding, even though it's been like a different route, is like this kid Chris Chan, He's probably like one of the biggest YouTube skate.
Oh,
like
that
now he
dude-
does like
that dude rips. He does
yeah,
like switch.
he's like 1 million
360
followers,
kickflips.
all that, and like he was just a kid
Yeah.
from
Wow.
like the hood over towards like Echo Park kind of zone and stuff, and was like
Really?
quiet kid. Yeah, we all used to go. We pretty much all the skaters that I met like there, like we would skate these basketball courts in the dorm, and pretty much we'd just go skate flat ground, and then once we all started becoming friends, we pitched in. We bought a flat bar, so we had a flat bar there that we would skate. But it's like
Sick.
we all had like different degrees, so it's like you're going skating, and then we'd just be like, oh cool, like what happened in class today for you? And we would like kind of nerd out on our like degrees, but it was something really cool because it made that bond of skateboarding so much better, where I'm like, I'm hyped to go skate with them. We're going to work on a project too after this, whatever. And it just kind of made it more enjoyable for me to go through school. And the thing that probably changed school for me in the best way was my junior year, we had like a new department head, or maybe it was my sophomore year. And it was a couple that came in, and it was Flavia and Will Garrow. And I went to the school for deaf studies, so American
Whoa.
Sign Language, deaf culture, like
What,
that
really?
whole, yeah, that's what I went to school for. Originally went for interpreting,
Dope.
and then then switched into community services, which got me into like doing nonprofit work.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
But Will, he ended up being my professor. And the first day I had class with him, he was teaching it was a linguistics class on ASL. And the first thing that he referenced ever, and he called me out, and I was like, oh shit, like the teacher's trying to call me out right now, which is like, you know, there's always like, you're sitting in a spot and you end up becoming like subject number one for a teacher, and it's either going to go really good or you're going to be like, this is going to be all year, and this teacher's going to call me out every time. Mind you, this man comes in, he's a little bit shorter than me, tatted head to toe, like full bodysuit tats, like
Sick.
no
Love
fucks,
it. Love it.
like shaved hair, all that. And he like saw that I had a skateboard, and he's like, oh, so you skate? And I was like, yes, like I know, I'm like 20, I'm in college, I skate. Like that, I was already used to that by a lot of professors, because you
Yeah.
still like get that notion. And he introduces the class using Mark Gonzalez and teaching
Really?
about, so pretty much in linguistics, like we're talking about, for anyone who knows, like, but American Sign Language, it's a visual language.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, a lot of deaf people have like their eyes actually do develop differently, who grow like deaf from a young age, become introduced to American Sign Language. There's like a lot more I could go in like nerdier with that, but essentially like they see the world differently. That's just what it is. Like their eyes actually do develop differently than like a hearing person's because of that. They're like,
because they're missing a sense.
yeah, they're
right?
missing
Yeah.
a sense. So like you're gonna get one that like picks up a little bit more, so their visual sense is stronger.
Makes sense.
And as he was teaching about it, he's like, well, we're going to get into this like more, but he's like, the best way I can explain this is Mark Gonzalez. And he's like, he used to write comics like for Transworld and stuff. And he does one, and it's like the skateboarding third eye, something like that, how it's titled. And he talks about like, as a skateboarder, he's like, you develop this like extra vision, which is all of us know. It's like, if you're walking down the street, you can pull down a skate spot. Like someone else just be like, I don't know, I see that. Like, but
We
that's
just
like,
did that at the pizza
yeah.
joint right
And
now.
you start walking around, and you can be like, oh, that would be sick to skate. Which the average person, like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Like, I remember that. Like the minute that clicked, I was like,
Easy.
oh, I'm sorry. Did you just use skateboarding in an academic like
Yeah.
setting? And it for me, I was like, this is my
Favorite
guy.
Favorite teacher.
Yeah, well, he ended up being my mentor. He's like a really good friend of mine to this
Oh,
day. Like
sick.
I've like looked up to him, but like we used to go like skate the current. We'd go skate slappies all the time. Like
Sick.
go out skate. I've gotten him stuff like over the years. Like he's come to skate events. Like all that. He grew up in New York, like late '80s, early '90s. Like
Dude,
all
New
that.
York skaters are different, bro. Especially
They-
dudes who live in the city. Like, they're
Oh,
just
yeah.
different. And in a good way. Like, I don't know if you guys know Nardelli.
Yeah.
Mark Nardelli, but like...
So
Yeah,
dude,
I-
he's the best.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, shout out to Nardelli. He's my boy. Like
Fibro, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Fibro. Dude, like, whenever I'd show up at his house in Lower East Side Manhattan, he'd be like, "What up, California?" And I showed up in like board shorts and some like flip flops. He's like, "I could safely say I've lived here for how X amount of years, enter the years." He was like, "I've never had somebody walk through my apartment with some flip flops on." He's like, "This is the most California shit I've ever seen." And I was like, "Dude," but then he gets out and he's like, "All right, let's go skate." And I'm thinking, skateboarding in the city is like, oh yeah, whatever. It's kind of like San Francisco. Nah, you're mashing with him, mashing around, and then he's just like, like telling this guy to fuck off. But then like all of a sudden being like, yo, what's up? You just hear everybody skating on the street, yo Nardelli, and it's just like, dude, it's all of these things in like skateboarding and how it just brings everybody together. And like in the New York skater, when you put it with like a California skater on either coast, it's just like, skateboarders are just different because you all grow up around your terrain, for lack of a better term, and and the style of people around you and like your environment, and it's just like it's exciting. You know, it's super exciting. I love New York skaters.
Oh, dude, no, that stuff makes a difference. And I mean, that was kind of like for me, like as I finished through like college and stuff, I did a lot of like skate related things with it. But I think once I was done, I came back, I kind of started getting involved with Rollin From The Heart afterwards. Cause when I came back from school, I graduated, I kind of didn't really have a game plan of like going for a master's or anything. It was sort of one of those like, oh, school's done. Like, all right, I'm just going to come back home and like work for the summer. I worked at Surf Ride and ended up becoming like
South O or
South O one. So like the main
okay.
skate, because that was the shop I came through as like a kid pretty much. I like went to McGill's, but then started hanging out with like all the M4L dudes. Grew up with like that whole crew, so like Kenny, Hoyle, like Chris Troy, Blue Right.
Dude, is that the time when like And Now was coming out?
That was, yeah, I grew up like through And Now time to like
Andy
Kenny.
Beaumarchais and shit.
Beaumarchais. Oh, Beaumarchais got me the job.
Did he really?
That's how I started working at that skate shop. Was like Beaumarchais was like a big brother to me and like brought me through all that.
Sick.
I miss those parking lot contests.
Yeah,
dude, those parking lot contests were dope.
That was like the tail end of like right when I started going to school. Those were still going on and they died off. And then when I came back, I ended up just out of freak few incidents at the shop, became like the manager for the skate side and buyer and all that. So then I started like, that was a cool thing for me, was like getting contests back, like really doing community stuff. So like got to start doing like having demos there again. And then like I think my favorite thing to this day that I got to do with the shop, at least, like I guess two things, was like one, like getting back to the team thing, which was we used to do like growing up there, and like why skateboarding was like so important to me, and like even going to like school, like and making those connections through skateboarding, was that like I would come back all the time for like, we used to do skate nights, which isn't a thing anymore with a lot of shops. Like there's not too many brands pushing that anymore, but it used to be like we used to go to Soul Tech all the time. So like the whole shop would go up and we get a private session. We'd skate the Soul Tech park. We go to this park, whatever. And I would
remember
you'd actually be surprised with Board Retailers Association. I work with shops, not just skate shops, surf shops, snowboard shops, wakeboard shops all over the country, but skate shops do a lot of different things. And you know, especially shops in the southeast or the northeast or the Midwest, you know, a lot of these shops, even the northwest, will do like specific, like, you know, hey, let's all roll to the park together, let's do this, let's do these different events. And that's what makes these skate shops so remarkable.
Well, like Val Surf would do that shit all the time. Yeah.
One thing that we used to do when I owned and operated Aura, the indoor skate park in Vista and everything, we would do skate art clinics. And shout out to Matt Day, who would run these clinics. He would teach kids and adults how to paint using acrylic paints on broken skateboard decks. And it was absolutely remarkable. And we would pre-sell the tickets a lot of times, and that would really help us to make things work with those shops and everything. And so the shops that are kind of sitting on their hands out there not doing things, they're kind of missing the boat. The ones that are taking those steps and going on like little trips to the skate parks, or even farther, like road trips together, like with different crews, or doing different events at their shops and that kind of thing, they're the ones that are really creating that remarkable situation there for them. And one of my favorite marketing gurus, this guy Seth Godin, would always say, if you're not remarkable, you're invisible. And that really, really resonates with skate shops, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, like we would do those events, and that's what was like for me as a kid, like coming up through a skate shop, working there and being like, all my dudes, because I mean at the time, like when I was coming through, that was before a lot of the dudes like moved to LA and got big. But it's like Alex Schmidt was on the shop, Jordan Taylor, we have all those dudes, like Nick and Ralph Saldivar would always be out, and those are two like kind of like local legends. Like Ralph like freaking killed it.
Dude, Surf Ride's team was stacked.
It was a stacked, like Chris Henry was like part of it, and it's like
doubt.
some people were like on, not on, but they were like in the crew either way. And you like look at it and you're like, dude, all these guys were going. So then like obviously like shops always change, like time goes on and like that goes. So coming back, I was like, well, I want to put emphasis on this. I mean, like, so I brought the team back like with doing that, and it was rad because it's like I have like kids who I've now like watched grown up from that shop, go to school, like have kids, like stuff like that, where I'm like, this is mind blowing. Like they're like, this is kind of crazy for me to see. But then like we got to do events too. Like I got to do, and I can't believe I ever got it approved, but it was so fun to do. We did a contest on the handrail out front of the shop, which is like, so that's like a one that like It's hard to say who the first person is, but we'll give it to like Alfonso Rawls for like had an ad for
Sick.
board sliding it back in the
Sick.
day, which like Hofford ended up having a board slide on there, but like most people know it most famously for T-Swift, like Taylor Smith for backsmithing it like right on the foundation days. So I was able to get a bunch of money, and like we did a contest there, and I had friends from the Valley come down, like a bunch of people there, and it was just kind of like a crazy day of like skateboarding there, but just something to give back to the community because it was so much. I was like, dude, like we haven't done anything like this, and like obviously we're lucky as a shop, like that shop, to like have that space to be able to put on events there. Obviously you can go to a skate park, but to be able to do something like physically like at your skate shop makes like a huge difference. But during that time too, with like being involved in the community, is like I had already been volunteering with a bunch of different like skate nonprofits prior, so that had been a huge in part for me. Was just like giving back to skateboarding. Skateboarding gave a bunch to me. Like I had a lot of people. I was lucky with like people who are older than me who took a chance on me to like get me into the skate shop, to like help me out through school, like give me some clothes to like make it through. And I was like, skateboarding can be used for good. I have like 100% belief in that.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, let's do this. So I was getting involved with Rollin From The Heart, but at the same time when I got involved with Rollin From The Heart, I met Thomas Barker, who he's from Encinitas, California, born and raised. He's a great dude. He worked for ISC at one point, and now he works for Jankum Magazine. Like amazing guys. Like had a whole crazy like industry career. Like worked at Black Box in the marketing department. Like and I like Black Box Prime days. Like all crazy stuff.
Damn, dude.
He's had like a ton of experience, but he had already started talking about the college stuff because he had just done a program like through the extension program at SDSU for nonprofit. So we had always tossed around stuff, and then he ended up networking with Neftali and Keegan Gizzard, and that's kind of how they started CSEF, like getting involved with that. And I
Are
mean,
you saying Keegan Gizzard or King Gizzard? Like
Keegan Gizzard.
Okay,
yeah.
I was gonna be like King Gizzard.
That'd be
Like,
tight if it was King
I was
Gizzard,
like,
yeah.
yo, that's a really sick.
That'd
name.
be low-key drop. No, but Keegan. But I mean, Tommy probably has like the best quote because like we all realize we're like skateboarding is good, and then like education, it can go hand in hand. Like it doesn't have to be two separate things. You don't have to be like, oh, that's fucking lame that you're going to school, like whatever.
Well,
It's
because
like,
that's what it was back
It
in the
was,
day.
yeah.
Like I'm 36. Doug, how old are you?
47.
Damn. Okay, so it's almost like a. It's
I've
like
been
a,
skateboarding for 37 years now.
Dude, my G. That's what's good though.
Still-
Yeah.
still
but yeah, it's a
progressing,
just
still
generations
Yeah,
to
it's-
see like how it's changed.
Yeah, how it's like to like when I mean, I'm sure even more so when you were younger, Doug. But for me, dude, it was not cool to be a skateboarder, number one, and it was not cool once you were in college if you still skated.
Right.
That's why I'm like hearing you say this. I'm like, damn, this is so crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
there were only 2 skateboarders in my high school, and then when I went to college, there might have been like half a dozen in the entire school, and I went to the University of Central Florida, and there were like
That's a massive school.
35,000 students there.
Dude, I had 3 kids at my school who we had a group of skaters, but they were all like there was 3 of us. There's 4 of us and freshmen, and then there was 2 seniors and nobody in the middle. So there were 6 of us, and then there was 2 brothers. One was a senior, one was a sophomore. But then when I went to college, again to your guys' point, in Erie, we were talking about the longboard thing, dude. I was the only skateboarder. My like flatmate who lived like 2 or 3 doors down from me. His name was John DeMar. Shout out John if you ever hear this. He had a mountain board, and he was a mountain boarder. And like he would be like, yo, I want to go
Strictly a mountain board.
bro, strictly. And he would like, there was an 11 stair, and he was like, hey, would you mind? He's like, I want to go jump the 11 stair tonight. I was like, on your mountain board? And he's like, yeah. And so, and we weren't even drunk or nothing. And he like literally gets locked in, and me and one of our other flatmates were like, are you ready? All right, go. And then we like, we're like pulling his arms, like, we threw him, you know? And then he just jumped the 11, and he killed it. And then he like back 180'd it, and like, dude, he was good. He would like throw flips. I was like, bro.
And that's the closest that you had though
That's
at the
the
time.
closest that I had. We went to the skate park. He had a car. He drove
Dude.
us 20 miles to the skate park in Erie, like in the town where they did the not Making a Murderer, but there was like a thing on Netflix, and it was like it's like a documentary series about this crazy lady, and they had this guy. They, like,
the
tied
bomb one. Yes, I know.
That's in Erie.
Yeah.
Dude, I shop on that town. I was like, oh my God. Like, dude, this is so crazy. I knew where the skate park was. I knew all that. And I knew where all of that stuff was in there. I was like, dude, that's so crazy. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to
No,
digress,
no.
yeah.
But that's like, yeah. So it's like, there's all that. And then Parker, like we still use this quote to this day. And I mean, Parker kind of had the best way because it's like, we know this can go hand in hand. Education's good. Skateboarding's good. Like these two together can be great because there's so many people like who are skateboarders who are extremely smart, and it's like, dude, you can go to school, and it's not to say like, yes, everyone can have their pros and cons in school, but it's still a great opportunity. You can meet so many people. Like Doug just kind of went off like all of his travel experience, and Parker's like, if I was 16 and Andrew Reynolds told me to do anything, I would have done it. So it's 100%. Like, if Andrew Reynolds told me to go to college, guess what? I would have fucking go to college. So this is now us like coming in, stepping in, and being like, hey, you guys take this chance, and guess what? Not only should you go to college, but we'll give you money for just being a skateboarder to go to college. And that was kind of like the whole point of CSEF was like, hey, you should be able to like get some money to go to school because of your skateboarding and like the community involvement. Because that's a big thing. Like there's that big misnomer, like judgment that people are like, skateboarders don't contribute anything to society. But skateboarders are constantly giving back to their community. And I mean, this is kind of corny, but I can tell you exactly how I met Doug.
Yes.
And I met Doug through when I was in college, because it was before I even met you through like shop stuff, but it was A-Skate, which is Autism Skate.
That's right.
I remember that.
And
right.
I used to volunteer with that a bunch, and then I started running to him at those events. And that's just how I remember Doug is like through volunteer work, through skateboarding, which people would be like, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, oh, I'm going to go work with autistic kids. They're like, oh, like that's awesome. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, skateboarding. They're like,
what?
That,
like
no.
the blank, just
Just
stare.
so
Yeah,
like,
I love
I'm
that.
sorry.
I absolutely loved that, and we hosted a few of those A-Skate clinics, the Autism Skate clinics at
yeah, you
Aura.
did some over at Aura too.
And absolutely tremendous, like Chris Worley and that whole crew would come together. And some of the kids would just slide down the ramps and that kind of thing, but other kids would stand on the skateboards. And I've seen this firsthand because we used to, Oscar Jordan and a few other people would come in and teach kids with autism that have different special needs kind of thing. But what's wild about the kids on the spectrum is that skateboard that throws a lot of people off, that makes a lot of people off balance, will actually lessen the turmoil in their head, which is just absolutely, it's therapeutic. It's wild.
It gives them something to focus on.
Yep. So it was so cool to do those events and to meet Josh through that and everything else.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, all right, skateboarders are doing good stuff, and it's like you can be rewarded for that. Like you should be. Like if you want to go to school and you're a skateboarder and you're like, oh, I got to find like maybe my art degree, like I can get a scholarship for this, or I want to study like neuroscience. Like, all right, let me find this degree and like find this scholarship, blah blah. And it's like, we should just have one for skateboarders like that. Well, that's a no-brainer.
There's something for everybody.
Yeah, there's something for everyone except for skateboarders at the time.
When I was, applying to go to graduate school at the University of San Diego, that's a private school, and it was very expensive to go there. But I was able to get a fellowship and a number of scholarships. I was part of this marketing organization at the University of Central Florida, where I interviewed for this scholarship out at this convention, and that was what really kind of sparked the idea of driving across the country and everything. And it allowed me to really take that step of like, okay, I'm going to move from Orlando, Florida, where I was going to school at the time, and go across the country and go to this private university for grad school because I have this fellowship and I have this scholarship available to me. And along the way, I was able to pick up additional scholarships that helped me to continue the program and everything along those lines. And there are a lot of different scholarships out there, but to have a resource like CSEF is awesome.
Yeah, and it's been just like the stories over the years too to see the people we've had. 'Cause I mean, now we're in our 5th year. Like we started doing scholarships at just $500, and we worked it up to now we're going our 5th year. We're doling out $31,000 this year.
31,000?
31K.
From what? From what was the first one? 600?
$500. We started at $500 per person with like 5, maybe 6 people the first year. To now we're doing 14 recipients, and it's $31K. So it's like the minimum's $1,000. There's like $1,000, $2,000. And then there's like $3,000, $5,000 scholarship. Like there's just like
that's significant.
This
That's
chunk
hell yeah, that's books on books, son.
Yeah, and it's like we've had
housing's not cheap either.
Dude, hell yeah.
It goes through. Like we've had people been like, hey, like because I got this, like I didn't have to like work that job, and I could focus on my summer school class and graduate on time. Like there's stuff like that, but like the range, like when people are like, oh, like what do skateboarders go to like study? Like we had this kid, and he's on Picture Show Skateboards too, mind you, Tyler Dietrich. He went for neuroscience.
Sick.
He works back in Philadelphia at the hospital, like in his field. We had the first year, I'm blank on his name so hard, but he worked at Huff. He was the marketing, like one of the head marketing people over at Huff, and quit. And like Huff and Nagel himself was like, yeah, you should go back and like kind of study your stuff if you want to like study that. Went back for creative writing at NYU, got a degree, like got a scholarship the first year through. So I'm like, you know how sick that is that someone's like, I have this, but like I have all this experience. I want to go and finish my degree, and like, not just like you had like Huff back you.
I was gonna say you had a legend tell you to
like you should go do that if you want to. Yeah. And then it's like you get a degree, like you get a scholarship. Yeah, $500. Like it makes a difference. So like everyone knows like the little bit of money that you can get can make a difference, and to be like, I just got $500 for being a skateboarder and wanting to go to school. Like, and I mean, to be able to do that, and like we keep up with a lot. Like we have this one girl. She just finished school actually this year. Her name's Spirit. She's from the Pacific Northwest. I want to say from Washington. I could be wrong. She's First Nations. She just finished a program doing public health with like a minor in American Indian Studies, which is like what it's called at the school. But she wants to go back and like work with her people like in the reservation system and stuff, promoting like proper health, like through alternative activities or more holistic things such as skateboarding and other alternatives. And I mean, excellent. Like that's like a skateboarder that like came through. Amazing. Like she's done like a bunch of cool stuff for her community, works within her local skateboarding community, doing like skate lessons, a bunch of different outreach kind of things. And then it's like, that's what she went to school for, and she's like fully on track to be doing this now that she's done. Like that's amazing to see. And then it works as inspiration because we have a lot of kids who like we've talked to been like, oh, like I didn't know someone else was in my degree. Like I can network now. Like we've hosted skate nights before, and that's like one of those really cool things because it is like how I said, it's like you have kids who are connecting on skateboarding, but then finding out you're studying the same thing as me. Like we have the same degree, and just to have like that extra connection. Because like when I went to like my major, like studies major, still loved it, would have probably like completed either way. My college experience would not have been as good had I not had a mentor in my department who skateboarded, because we also could just like go skate with each other and then talk about like the stuff that I was studying or whatever, and he'd help me out, or just like have that mutual connection. I'm like, this makes you feel so much less like a professor. Like there's like this barrier between me, and we have this extra level of like connectiveness. You can be
homies too.
Yeah, we can be homies, and it's like, oh dude, like, hey, I got 15 minutes before class. You want to go hit the curbs real quick? Just get a little slappy? And I'm like, boom. Yeah, and that makes me that much more excited to like go to school, because I'm like, these are the people who I'm going to school with. Yeah. So I mean, opening that door and seeing like what people are doing, skateboarders are doing in the academic field, it's amazing. So
no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that might be a good segue into like, so Doug, you do the Board Retailers Association as well, and you had mentioned just a second ago, you said that you help not just skate shops but surf shops, snowboard shops, helping people do that. And I mean, you're a skateboarder, you have your degrees, you're in masters, and you've done these things, and now you're going on and you're working with Rollin From The Heart, you're working with the Board Retailers Association, you support the CSEF, and you have this like, I don't want to say historical, but you have like a long time relationship with skateboarders, and pushing things forward.
Oh, definitely. And I ran the USA operations for Mystery Skateboards and
Did you really?
Beef Trucks. This is after Jamie sold it to the Australians. Oh. And it was an interesting time. It was a bit volatile, but I did that for a little while and learned a ton from that experience for sure. And that was actually right after Aura. You know?
Really?
Yeah. And then
Aura, dude.
Yep.
Oh, fuck. Sorry.
Yeah. So Aura was the indoor skateboard training facility that I owned and operated with Matt Day and Jim Bell, and unfortunately, it wasn't. I basically had to walk away from my investment. It wasn't a good situation towards the end there. One of our investors was not a good person. So.
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes. But tell me more about Board Retailer Association. Like, so you help out these shops, but like, how did you get involved with them? Are you like, did you start it? Like,
no, I mean, Board Retailers Association has been around for 20 years. Actually, 2003 marks the 20th anniversary of Board Retailers Association. And so Board Retailers Association was founded by Roy Turner and Mike Duncan, like I said, in 2003. And I was actually a part of Board Retailers Association when I was negotiating commercial real estate deals for the action sports. So even before Aura, I worked in the commercial real estate. This is after I graduated from University of San Diego with my master's. I worked for pension fund managers and real estate investment trusts, and a lot of large institutional owners, helping them with their real estate, and started to kind of parlay that business. I worked for CB Richard Ellis, one of the largest commercial real estate firms in the world, and I was able.
Wow, dude! Yeah. Sorry, you're just like glazing over that, but okay.
I mean, it was significant. I worked there for 14 years, and about halfway through that 14-year period, I started realizing I didn't want to make landlords and owners of these buildings and properties more money. I wanted to help the underdog, and I wanted to help the tenants and the buyers out there. And so I started working with a bunch of different types of companies, and realized that I didn't want to work with software companies or defense contractors or whatever. I would rather work with skateboarding or action sports companies, And so at the time I had written an article for Transworld Business. Remember Transworld Business?
Oh, yeah.
So I'd written an article about how to negotiate a lease like a pro, and Dave Nash from San Diego and Mikey Pearson from ZJ Boarding Boarding Shop. They were actually supposed to be writing the article, and it was kind of one of those things at the back of the Transworld Business. It said, next issue, this is what's coming out. So I called them up, and they said, hey. I said, hey, I know a few things about this. I could write the article. And they're like, please do, because we haven't even started. So I wrote that article, and then it started to kind of pick up some traction, and I became a member of Board Retailers Association as a vendor partner, or an associate partner is what they called at that point, for that commercial real estate element. So I would help out shops with their lease negotiations and renewals and that kind of thing around the country. And I also helped out, Transworld with their, skate and create programs, where they rented a warehouse and did a bunch of pyrotechnics and skated the ramps.
What?
And all that
That's
stuff.
what you did?
I helped facilitate the real estate deal associated with that.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. So that was kind of the precursor. That's when I worked with Board Retailers Association initially in 2005 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And I was still a part of it, but in 2008 the economy changed a little bit, and that's when kind of the writing was on the wall with CB Richard Ellis. The reason I was able to do so much in the action sports world is they gave me a budget, a big marketing budget that I could use at my own discretion. At that point I was a first vice president, and I was able to use those dollars to really cultivate this action sports business, and their network allowed me to help companies all over the country, I helped Dragon, and I helped Ergo, and I helped a lot of different, action sports related companies around the country through that. And so then I was able to kind of realize, okay, well, I've got a little bit of money saved up. Maybe I'll exit the commercial real estate, still keep my license, and I still have a license now, and I still do a few things here and there. But then I invested in Aura and that type of thing. But then after Mystery is when I received a call from George Leichtwise. He's the owner of Modern Skate and Surf. Modern is the indoor skate park in Royal Oak, Michigan. They've been around for 43 years now.
Whoa. And
they have an amazing indoor skate park. I think it's like 50,000 square feet. It's absolutely massive, and they've just got a great thing going. And George is great. He still teaches skateboarding lessons, and he's awesome. So he's the chairman of the board of Board Retailers Association. And he called on me and said, hey, we've got this opening for executive director. And this was at the time that things had changed at Mystery. I was let go. They outsourced my position to somebody in Australia, and I was kind of looking for something else. And so he gave me the opportunity to become executive director of Board Retailers Association. So Board Retailers Association basically is like a chamber of commerce for skate shops and snowboard shops and surf shops and wakeboard shops and that kind of thing. We help to lower day-to-day costs, to increase margins, to create more remarkable customer experiences for these different shops around the country. And just like CSEF, it's just domestic, it's just United States. And so that's kind of how it started, and that was, it's been about 3.5 years since I started over there.
Wow.
I know that was a lot.
No, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about. Like the first thing that comes to mind, all of those things are amazing, but have you done all of those things with that beard? Yeah. Dude, you're working in a financial like setting with commercial real estate, and you have that beard.
So when I first worked at CBA, I didn't have a beard, but towards I took a trip to Indonesia, and when I came back, I had grown a little beard. It was really professional, like very short, a little bit longer than your beard kind of thing, know, but not by much. But then after exiting CB Richard Ellis, starting to do the thing, I was general manager and wore every single hat at Aura, ran the retail shop, did all the sponsor relations stuff, did everything. That's when I started growing a beard. And I've cut it a few times. I usually
Dude, I've seen it. I've seen it pretty long. Like I remember when it was like, damn, Doug's beard is tough.
Yeah.
But dude, I
store a lot of things in here.
Stop playing. Dude, I know. That's just like, that was like hearing you say that for like 14 years. I'm like, there's no way you had that beard. But like, I love that you have it because it's so distinguishable. Like,
Yeah, I used to wear, it's crazy because I used to wear a suit and tie to work at CB. And what I would have to do, I would actually, and I didn't have long hair at that point either, of course. It was very clean cut, had a very short, very clean beard or whatnot. But I was working out of the Carlsbad office, and I was meeting with a lot of action sports companies, and I had a meeting with Dragon and all these different people. What I would do is I would have to change out of my suit, put on skate shoes and jeans, and I still wore like a collared shirt, but like a Quicksilver shirt or whatever kind of thing, and would meet with these different companies, and then have to go back to the office, put on my suit and tie again, and do my thing.
Dude, I find myself battling with that because I'm a skateboarder, like for life. That's what it is. Like I don't skate that much anymore just because like my body is pretty broken. But I will say like the Chamber of Commerce. Like I'm a member of the San Diego Chamber of Commerce here, and like 2 or 3 days before I went to my first event, I got my hand and my neck blasted, and I remember like I called my mom and she was like, how does it look? I was like, oh, it looks great. But I was like, I just realized I'm going to this Chamber of Commerce thing. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I did not think about that. And I showed up and I brought Sav. And it was super funny, the conversation me and Sav had going into this thing. But it was like, hey, I was like, I need you to be on point. Like, this is super business. Like, this is not our normal type of people. This is going to be people in suits. This is going to be people with, like, button-up collared shirts, these things. Professional things that I've done as well before in my past life before running my own shop. But like I remember I put on a collared shirt, I did my hair, I combed it, I wore like some Volcom, like, but it was a Brixton.
You dress nice, you dress the part, which
Brixton
is like
polo and like some Volcom slacks, but skate brands still, but like trying to just make it work. And it's like I still show up to the events and I'll serve coffee and everything, but it's just like the demographic is so different. And it's like, and you're 47? You said 47?
Yeah, I'll be 48 in December.
Okay. So like, are you Sagittarius or Capricorn?
Sag.
All right. There you go. My mom's Sag. Hell yeah. I'm finding as I'm getting older, although I'm 36 now, I don't feel 36. I still feel pretty young. And I meet the people at the Chamber of Commerce and I'm like, we're just so like on different levels right here, like, and it's
well, it's wild. I mean, that's skateboarding for you. Like I've been skateboarding for a long time, and I don't feel 47 years old. Yeah. I know people that are in their late 20s, early 30s that have hung it up.
Oh, dude, yeah.
They're done. Like they're fat or whatever kind of thing, and they're just watching sports on TV, and like
no,
they've got their lazy boy or whatever kind of thing. But skateboarding keeps you young, and especially teaching skateboarding, and that's what one of the things that we do with Rollin From The Heart is teaching these kids, helping mentor and instruct the kids with skateboarding. It's absolutely fulfilling. It's great.
Well, that's actually one thing I wanted to talk about too. So Rollin From The Heart. So that actually has like a little bit of a double meaning today.
Yeah, today's right? Like It's a really heavy
years.
day. So today's 10 years since Ian Poodsberry has passed away. And most people, if they're wondering why Poods might sound familiar, that is the skate park that Thomas Barker pretty much from CSEF got built in Encinitas, which is
Poods
the
Park.
Encinitas Community Park, which is Poods Park.
Yeah.
That is what it is. It comes up on Google, so it's like set in stone. That's that. Like there's a bench there for Ian, all of that. So Ian changed a lot of people's trajectory, including mine. Like that's what I got into nonprofit work, was like from when pretty much him passing away, just kind of like set me like I needed to switch up what I'm doing in school. Even that was like a huge, just first time losing a friend, like once I was like a little bit older out of high school kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you started having those relationships, it changes and it'll change a lot of people's lives. But his parents, John and Allison Barry, like they did something really cool, which was take something that most people would be like, this is tragic, like we don't know how to go on with our lives, and they turned it into something positive. And within a couple of years, within like a year and a half pretty much from Ian passing, they started Rollin From The Heart. And it essentially, in one way, like it's still in his honor and it started that way, but now it's almost taken its own, where it's like it has a whole life of its own. It's still for Ian, all of that, but there's a lot of people who are almost like, oh, I didn't, like might not realize that, because they just know Rollin From The Heart from like the great work that's being done, but it's all from one person who like was beloved by the local skate community, by his friends, people in surfing too. Like he kind of did everything in the motorcycle community, but that kind of started Rollin From The Heart, which was like skateboarding did so much for Ian. Ian was a great dude. He definitely had some stuff like a little bit like, I want to say, I should know this off the top of my head, a little bit like more like ADD, some like things like that, but like skateboarding was like really like probably off on ADD, but yeah, it was a therapeutic for him, like through some stuff that he had, like it was therapeutic, did like a great like it did a lot for him. His parents realized like not only did skateboarding do great for him, but like when Ian passed, everyone who came together was 99% skateboarders, and they're like, this is insane that like this whole community came together for us, supported the family, like was there for them when they needed them, all of that. And they're like, well, this energy can definitely be used for positive change. Like skateboarding just brought us like a whole new family. Like let's use skateboarding to support people who need it.
Sick.
And that pretty much led into doing after school programs with at-risk youth. And originally the first couple programs that they were working, it was just before I got involved, because I think it was like fall 2014 when they first started doing some, but they were with a program out towards Vista, and it was working with kids who were like, their parents were in like federal custody. So it was these kids who were kind of getting like housed around, and what the kids were doing, like they would be staying at this place for like maybe 3 months, 6 months, and then get moved to another facility.
What is that? Like a foster family?
It was almost like a foster care, but it was on like a federal level because of like what the parents had been like involved with.
Oh.
So it was like a weird, like kind of heavier situation. And they started doing that and it was good, but they like kind of hit a standstill with it, where they're like, we can't make progress. Like we start working with these kids.
It was so fleeting.
Yeah, like you get to it, like you start working with this kid. Yeah, like we'll probably get into it, but like when you start working with someone and you're like supporting them, trying to make a better change through like a shared activity, it takes a little bit for a kid to like break out of their shell and do it.
Oh, well, trust.
Yeah, it's that trust.
It's not a light switch.
Yeah, it's not a light switch. So then it's like you start working with this kid and you finally like hit that moment to break through, and then the program's like, oh, sorry, they got shipped off to the middle of nowhere, and you're like, well, like we can't keep doing this because we're not really making change. Like we're just kind of partially starting it, and then they're getting like moved, and it's not
Band-Aid.
like, yeah, it's a Band-Aid. It's not like our Band-Aid. Like we don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
So when I started with them, they pretty much got in contact with Monarch. And Monarch School is a school here in San Diego, which I still think a lot of people shockingly do not know about. It's located in Barrio Logan. It is the only school in the United States that is a K through 12 school geared towards kids affected by homelessness. And by that, I mean the students there are currently either homeless, in transitional housing, which means they're in temporary homes, or they have just finally, like their families just got into actual housing, but they are emotionally not ready to go back to a regular public school. By that, I mean like they've been missing grades, or it's like most people don't think about this when you're like, what do you mean emotionally? It's like, imagine you were living on the street for the last like 8 years of your life. You haven't really been in public school. All right, hey, your parents finally got housing. You're off the street. Go start freshman year of high school right now and have a kid ask you, well, where are you from? and try explaining to like a kid your freshman year of high school that like I've been living on the streets, and they're not gonna know what to do with you.
It's I mean, these kids have these environments. Sometimes it's kind of a foster situation. Sometimes it's you know, like Josh said, a temporary housing situation. But no matter what, it can be very volatile, and you see that directly with the kids and how frustrated they can get and how volatile. I mean, we were just told today that you know, kid got hurt with scissors.
Yeah.
Like,
there's some, I mean, kids have like some emotional issues going there. So it's like, the thing that's amazing about the school is that like all their staff is trained to like work with these kids. It's a K through 12, but like the class sizes are smaller. It's got a way better like teacher to student ratio there. It's a year-round school, so when kids are attending there, they're able to catch up on grades. There's hot showers there. They have like laundry. They do like all normal sports. Like, it's amazing. They have like a full regular school program. They have a whole trade program that they do, because they're big on like pushing kids. Like, hey, if you have the opportunity to go to college and you can get around, like whatever you can, do it. If not, guess what? Trade schools are important. Like, you can go to school for welding, building, all this. Like,
Dude,
they do that. Like, they're huge on that, which is, you forget, like in public schools, like you have some programs like that. Like you have woodshop and all that, but it's not necessarily pushed as like go to trade school. Here, they're very much realistic. Like, dude, college isn't for everyone, but guess what? You should get some sort of education.
Well, dude, that's the thing, is like, that's one thing nobody pushes anymore. Nobody, welders, plumbers, any of these things, electricians, like, dude, we need those people. And that's not saying there's any like level, like this person's above this person. Like, no, we need people in general to do that, because everybody's just gunning to be like a software developer or like a coder or something. And that's fine. No problem with that. But it's like, yo, like, I will definitely, I mean, like, I probably won't have kids, but if I ever had a kid, I definitely would be like, yo, there are options. There are different pathways, because like, dude, I didn't have anybody telling me that. I had to kind of just figure it out. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a pro skateboarder. And then like it led me into coffee. Yeah. But it's like, if I would have been like, yo, you can make hella money being a plumber. Yeah, you got to work 24 hours a month, but like you can make bank. Like, nope, not one person in my life told me that. Right. You know, or an electrician or anything. Like, bro.
So having a school like that, it's really cool to like just see that as a school on its own. And then how Rollin got involved was pretty much like, they would do these community like after school programs. So we're one of the ones that's been there like longest, but they used to have like a few different ones.
It's not just Monarch though. It's
no, not just, but I guess like for starting out for like who we've been with, just as a good origin on here is Monarch. Like when we started, we were one of the after school programs. There's a few other ones, and I think we went into it and we had maybe like 10, 15 kids like kind of signed up for it and doing it.
That's still a lot.
That's still a lot. Like, you're testing Mars. We were kind of like figuring out as we went, but like initially when we were there, the school was like, well, what's like the requirement for the kids to get into it? And we're like, well, what do you mean? They're like, hey, like just because they're like homeless kids doesn't mean we're going to treat them like, oh, you get stuff handed. Like, we're making sure like that's not a thing. So like this kind of has to be earned or whatever, which is like, it's a really good thing, because they also don't want to promote that, like, and people do this like in general, like a lot of people be like, oh, like, you're just giving stuff to like homeless kids, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, people get that mentality after seeing stuff like systems fail, and they're like, we're not like solving anything. It's like, all right, well, this school like makes it like, if you want to do after school program at the time, like you gotta like do something to like get into the program.
You gotta earn it.
Yeah, so I think they set them to like maybe be like a C average or C plus. It had to be like to get into the program.
That's dope.
So the first year we were there, we had like 10, 15, maybe like 10, 15 kids started. By the end of it, it was 40 plus kids in the program, and everyone's grades were at like B plus averages, because kids wanted to get into the skateboard program, and they just started like, the school there was just like, we're looking at their grades. They want to skateboard and participate. And the people who were in the skateboarding team not only were like, oh, we want to get into this, and they're pushing their grades up, but these kids are like, they're like emotionally, they're like way happier. They're socializing a lot more. They're loving this, and it was making huge changes. And through that, the program got to expand. We started working with Keeler Academy down in Skyline, which is another like really cool school. And then we do Lifeline and Oceanside.
And pre-pandemic, we did Vista, Lifeline, and JCCS, which was the juvenile court system. Yeah, there in Vista also.
Dude, skateboarding really does improve things, improve lives.
To say
it really does.
Yeah, at least. I mean, as you all know, it's there's so many life lessons with skateboarding, persistence and tenacity. Like you fall down, you get up. Like
determination.
In so many other areas of life, you get rewarded for anything. But this is like life is a meritocracy. You have to earn it. So if you fall down and stay down, then you haven't earned anything.
Have you guys seen that conversation between Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld?
Oh,
Yeah.
He's like, I see those skateboard kids.
those
They're gonna
kids-
be all right.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna be fine.
They'll be all right.
And that's that's like the huge thing.
Those
Like
guys are awesome.
when you do it, it's like about getting back up. And when I was first there, like at Monarch, when we were first doing like Rolling From The Heart, like one of the things the teachers are like, the amazing thing they were seeing with their kids is like, hey, this is the first time we saw a kid saying like, oh, I'm gonna do this, like I can do this. And then they started going to like, when they're coming to skate, they're like, I want to try and do this. And it's really hard because a lot of them like given their life, they quit. Like a lot of kids like quit, and like mind you, like kids in general quit, but like that's like a hard situation to be in. And they started being like, no, our kids are like, they're like, I want to do this, like I'm gonna do this. And then they're like, hey, we're seeing kids being like, I did this, like I did this, and that pride
taking
builds
ownership.
Yeah, they start to believe in themselves.
and that like
Sick.
translates to everything else. So it's like that's been probably the most amazing thing with Rolling From The Heart and everything that like it's gotten to do over the years is, people look at it like, oh, like what is skateboarding do? I'm like, they just conquered something that's, I'm sorry, but it is like one of the harder things to do. Like it takes a lot of
100.
commitment, a ton of time to like figure out just how to drop in on a skateboard. And I mean, that's even just dropping in on like a little bank. A lot of adults can't do that. They end up breaking their arm. They freak out. Like they won't. These kids are toughening up doing it, and they're able to take that experience of like, I persevered, I got through this, and they take that energy and put it into the rest of their life. Like,
Dude, I could not agree more with that. I mean, I've said it when I've had like interviews or stuff like before. I literally remember thinking that like once I found out that you could make a career out of coffee and using science and like your brain and like you take that tenacity, that determination, perseverance, like you take those attributes of the best things that skateboarding can teach you and you apply them to things that can't technically hurt you physically, it changes everything, because now you're like, oh well, I used to jump down gaps, like I jumped down this and I did that. It's like, this is just annoying, and like it's just like you have to go through the paperwork and the hoops, but it's like at the end of the day you're gonna get it. But that's also like that same frustration that you get trying to learn the trick, and you're just like like busting your head up against the wall or like slamming your board, and you're like, ah. But then as soon as you get it, you're just like, oh, you know what I'm saying, like, son. And then so like I applied that to the shop, so it's like I just can't agree any more than what you're saying. I mean, skateboarding to me, I've said this before, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, but sometimes skateboarders are just like the worst people I've ever met. Sometimes.
Well, you could say that about
anybody.
Yeah,
exactly.
But like I fully understand that.
You know,
I live in
what I
Oceanside.
mean.
As much as I love it, I can tell you that. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, and the whole time this conversation, I'm thinking about the great things you guys are doing, and it's like the question that comes to mind for me is how have both of you, because this is directed at both of you, how have you guys overcome the stigma of skateboarders being, like how could I say this? Being the other, like to put it very nicely, pot smoking, drug using, alcohol, whatever. Like pick a thing, and people are like, oh, those are skateboarders. How do you overcome the stigma of that? Turn it around and make it like how has this affected you? Like how have you? I mean, obviously you've used it for college. You've done your amazing things too as well, Doug. And it's like, but how have you guys, because I know you guys have been met with some of that stuff before. So it's like, how have you like overcome that? And like, you guys are still here shining, like, yo, we're doing Roll From The Heart, we're doing CSEF, we're doing Board Retailers Association, you're doing Aura, like teaching skate lessons. Like, you guys are like, I wouldn't say a pinnacle, but you guys are like a representation of the positive and the great things that skateboarders can do. So it's like, how have you overcome that stigma?
Well, I think like a big thing, and like I'll just go on this because like I have those friends who definitely like probably drink too much, smoke a bunch of weed, like all that, because I have a bunch of friends that are pro like skateboarders and like amateur sponsored. But I can still say this to say, and I think this is like really important about like the skate community as a whole, is that that dude's like, maybe like society's gonna say like they're a fuck up, like that dude drinks a bunch, smokes weed, he doesn't like fit my standard of like how it should be. But that's also the same dude for me that if I'm at my lowest or if I need help with something, that's the person showing up, not my friend who I went to high school with, who's clean cut. He's gonna be like, yeah, maybe I'll show up. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
All that. But like the skateboarder who's like slept on the couch, hasn't showered in a week, whatever. Like, I've seen that to this day. I still stand by it. Like, those are the dudes who have always been like, you ever need anything from me? Like, I will be there for you. Like, no questions asked. Like, and I can say it in, this is like my best example for in high school. And RIP Corey is one of my friends. He passed away, like, was a chef, but like went to Carlsbad High. So like we had skate PE. That was like a program we had, which is, I know, still like a weird mind blowing thing. That, like,
super cool though.
Yeah, like,
super cool.
Had it to like
we never had that.
Yeah, I
I never
know.
had that.
It's like I had skate PE. Like, it's like a weird thing where I'm like, that is
super Southern California.
Yeah, it's a very California thing. But like, I had that, and one of our things we do always after skating was had that class before we went back to the high school. We go to Lola's in Carlsbad, get lunch there. Mm-hmm. And at that time, it's like I was definitely like a nerdy kid in high school. It's like I did like kind of like the upper course like classes and stuff, and was like smart enough, like did those. But I was like, I skate, like that to me, like that was my outlet. Like I was a skateboarder.
Yeah.
So like there's one day we're getting food there, and I'm sitting with you guys, and like the skateboarders look like the skateboarders, and like I sort of fit in, but like I'm obviously like how like my family was and stuff. My mom's like, yeah, a little bit more cleaned up cut, and like, yeah, I know I'm like in these like upper classes, whatever. And these girls came up and they started trying to talk shit to me. Like, I'm sitting with these guys and they're just like, yo, like, we know you're faking. Like, you don't really skate. Like, you're just trying to look this way. Like, they
Calling
were
you
like
a poser.
They were calling me a poser.
Yo!
I'm sitting with them and they were just straight up trying to be like, you're just trying to do this so you look like you're cool in our class. Like, pretty much we're trying to be like, we know you're in class with us. Like, you're too smart to be a skate. Like, it was like one of those things where you're like, you have to be a dumbass to keep skating, like, at this rate. Like, it was, they were kind of going off that. And my friend Corey and my other friend Cole Keller, like, shout out to Cole for this. Like, they stood up and they were straight up like, are you, I'm sorry, like, what did you just say? Do you want to repeat that? They're like, oh, yeah, like, he's this. And they're like, no. You're like, don't, they're like, shut your mouth. Like, don't ever disrespect him again. Because guess what? He is smarter than us. He does this. Like, we know this. Like, we've met his family. Like, we know his mom. Like, his mom's so much cooler. Like, yeah, he is that kid. But guess what? He doesn't give a shit. He shows up. He skates with us. Doesn't disrespect us. He's
Shreds.
like part of the crew. He's like, oh, that was terrible then. But like, he's like, he's part of us. Like, and that's like the point of skateboarders is like, it does not matter. Like, you could be on like this end, like smoke a bunch of weed. You could be fully clean cut sober. As long as you skate and you're cool, like, you're part of the group.
Yeah.
It's really hard to kind of get kicked out of like skateboarding. Like, there's definitely things that everyone can do, like, in the community get kicked out, but like skateboarding is fairly accepting across the broad range.
It's true.
Dude,
And
there's not many people I know that can't be down for skating.
Right.
It's not even like even, you know, because I experienced those other board sports, the snowboarding and the surfing and that kind of thing. You know, surfing can be really territorial. Skateboarding can be to a lesser degree, but for the most part, it's super encouraging. You have people that have a 30, 40 year age difference.
Oh my God, yeah.
That absolutely respect each other and are encouraging each other and rooting each other on to land that trick or to do whatever.
It's a really weird thing. So it's like, that's where I look at it. I'm like, yeah, those are dudes who are like, we don't care like what his background is. Like, he skates with us, he's down with us, like, we're down with him, like, we will be there.
Yeah.
And that's where I think like where it comes through. And like, I've done that where I've had like people volunteer. My mom, like, even for my mom, like, she was like the best one. Like, she had to house a bunch of people from Baker, like, at my house, like,
goodness.
after I was done with college, and being like, she had like during the time, like, when they were filming for like Young Americans.
Was Dust in there?
No, thank God. This is like this is the now generation, but it's like I had my buddy like Felix Soto over, had Cater, Zach Allen, and then like Tristan was over, and who else am I missing? Oh, Victor Seves. Like, those dudes all staying with us, and she's like, this is a weird crew. And then, mind you, they're all like way younger than me too for the most part. But my mom's like, this is so cool. Like, you have like a full range. Like, everyone's from like different background, kind of different thing. My mom's like, this is tight. Like, these are all your friends, and they were like super respectful, and like they're definitely the most stonery people. Where I'm like,
whatever.
my mom, I'm like, all right, just keep it on the down low, because my mom's gonna be like, not for the weed, but like they are super like just I'm just like, just go outside, just don't.
You're so funny.
But like, they would say like they cleaned up the house. Like, these are dudes who, like, you watch a video of like any of those dudes and you're kind of like, I don't know, that dude could be like questionable as like a house guest. They got up every single morning, cleaned all the dishes, like made the house look pristine for mom. And I'm like, she's like, oh, I love, like, cool. Cause my mom for the longest time was not a fan of me skateboarding at all. Cause she looked at it as like, I mean, mind you, like she's from the East Coast, like proper and all that, and she's kind of like, I don't know, like this is sort of a thing, but like maybe you need to move on to something else, like kind of deal. She didn't really accept it until I grew up, like luckily, like when we were living in Carlsbad, we moved around a bunch, but I used to live down the street from the Flying Elephant, which was Matt Hensley's restaurant.
Yeah, dude, I remember that.
I went there a few times.
Yeah, so I grew up pretty much going there, like as a kid, like learned how to play pool there, like met anyone, like pretty much how I got like into like skate industry or like knowing people was from that bar. And being like 17, just hanging out there all the time.
That was the one that was right off the freeway, right?
Yeah, it's right off Tamarack.
Off Tamarack.
So it was like a weird little spot.
That AM/PM right there.
Yeah. So like, we used to go there, and I was like, Mom, can we please go? Like, Matt Hensley owns this, all this. And then finally, like one day.
It was great while it lasted.
Yeah, it was a great spot. She met Matt, and she like.
That dude rules at billiards for sure.
He's an amazing guy, but it was like.
The beginning of his part was in billiards.
Yeah. It's like he's a business owner. He's a famous musician. He's a famous skateboarder. Mom's like, oh, okay. And then she started meeting everyone from that and was like, oh, skateboarding's cool. Like, I get this now, why you're like in this, and like realizing like all those people like sent me off to college. Like they were super supportive of me over the years. And my mom's like, okay, like skateboarding, like I can get behind this. And I think that's like, if you can change your parents' mind who's like super against it at first and isn't just like, isn't sure about it. Like that's how you do it. Where mom's like, these people are like 20 years older than you, and they're like super stoked that you're going to school, and they're like they've never gone to school.
Dude,
you know?
Yeah. I mean, dude. I mean, like, one of my biggest age differences or age gaps, I would say, was like when I was teaching like little kids to skate. So like if I had like a 4-year-old that I was teaching, he was a ripper. But then when I got older and like was living the sponsored skater life, just like doing things and stuff, I met little Chris, or well, I can't call him little Chris anymore, but Chris Russell. So that's like, he always would come into Steel Mill, but I've known Chris since he was like, dude, he's like 11. When I met him, he would come down to my house, gave him his first shot of alcohol ever. It was Jaeger. He was just like, Connor, let me drink. I'm like, no, dude, your mom said no drinking. Your dad said no drinking. And he was like, but I could smoke weed. And I was like, I know you can smoke weed, but like no drinking. And then after like him being 3 days in a row, I was like, fine, we're just gonna stay in my apartment. Go ahead. And I let him drink, and I remember just like, oh my god, he was like like all hyped, and I was just like, you fuck, like. And now just to see him now and like how he shreds and he's so good, and it's just like, bro, like, seeing how far he's come, and just to know like at one point in my life, I was like in my early 20s hanging out with an 11-year-old who was just killing it on a skateboard, or maybe he might have been 13. 11 or 13. But it was in those 2 years, and then he like, he was really close. I was really close with his family for a really long time. Like his family's amazing. His mom was super cool. My ex-wife used to go to like yoga with his mom and stuff. They would come down to OB. Dude, we had an event we did for the OB Elementary School for the science camp.
Oh, that's amazing. We
helped them raise all their funds to get the kids to science camp, because this is another reason why I want to have you on the guys on the show, is because my past was doing events that were benefits for OB Elementary to help raise funds for
That's awesome.
like art, and then also the science camp, because I found out, and this was 10 years ago, I can't imagine what it is now, but I found out that they, I think what got me pissed off was that they only have PE 1 day a week for 1 hour. And then like I was like, that can't be true.
And that's had to have changed from there's a requirement now, I think.
I mean, even when I was in high school, I was
dude, no, when I was in high school, it was PE was almost every day.
Yeah.
So it was like, what do you mean you're doing it once a week with one teacher who goes around the whole district? And they're like, that's what we're doing. So I had like straight up meetings with the principal, and like, they told me about the things like, you can't ask parents for like supplies now. You can't, because it makes other kids feel like insecure, and like other parents and their financial situations. Like, look, I get that. That's fine. But to like have these kids being unprepared and like to head into school, because I mean, school, however you feel about it, might be boring, whatever. I loved school because it helped me learn, and I love learning. So to me, I was like, regardless of skateboarding or not, like, hey, let me change the world through skateboarding, what I could do. So at the time, I was like getting stuff from DNA, and like I was sponsored from like by Super and all that. So like Tony Larson from Super came through, like DNA, Alien, and Habitat came through. Marius, Tosh Townend, Guru Khalsa, like all these dudes came through for the benefit, and they knew it was for the kids, and all the proceeds, everything that was raised. Hodads came out, sold burgers, like everything went to get to those kids. And it was literally because I was just like, I was so pissed off that you couldn't even like, these kids, we're depriving these children of what they should be doing, or like just fun shit and like learning and all these things. And it's like we brought it through skateboarding. So it was like, dude, like that's why when I knew about what you guys were doing and stuff, and I'm just like, no, this, I didn't know the extent. And then as I said, I was doing like more research. I was like, whoa, like this is even more so than I thought.
Did you know that in addition to those after school programs and those mentorship type things, Rollin From The Heart also brings kids up to skate camp.
Yeah.
The Sequoia skate camp, what they used to call the Element YMCA skate camp.
Dude, I've been there.
So we
So
send kids
the last 2 years I've gone up there with groups of kids, kids from Memo, kids from Monarch, kids from Keeler Academy.
Really?
And these, it's just
a life
changer
for
these kids. They go out in the woods and not only do they skate at these amazing skate parks and go in the water and do the lake launch into the water.
Dude, the lake launch is so fun.
It's amazing.
It's so fun.
But yeah, like that camp, like those kids got to go, and like I remember the first year, like we did it. Like I took kids, like I have like a little Subaru Impreza, and I like picked them up from camp. Like did not shower for the entire week. So that used to be a skate camp thing. Like, oh, don't shower all this. And I'm like, we're driving back through like 100+ degree weather, and you guys all haven't showered. They're like, nope. I'm like, can you please go? And they're like, nah, like, and piled into the car. But like that week, they were up. The first group of kids that went up there, it was four kids, and my buddy at the time, he ended up becoming director for a couple of years there, and Doug knows him. He's very well known in the skateboarding. His name's Daniel Sintoven, also known as Tracker Dan, which most people in skateboarding like,
AKA Buffalo Dan.
Like he's raised a ton of like skateboarders throughout the years, like TM for 16 skateboards. So like, you want to talk about Garrett and Gantry? Like those are like his children, pretty much. Man. Like he had to deal with those two knuckleheads on plenty of occasions. Like he loves them to death, but those are his little idiot children.
I get it.
But he was like directing it, or he worked up there at the time, and that was when it was still Element the first year that we sent the kids up, and he did the elemental awareness part, which was like all the survival stuff. And that first week, he's like, like the kids came up and talked with like Todd Larson, right? Yep, Todd Larson was still in charge at the time, all that, and Andy. And they were like, hey, your kids have done every single outdoor activity that like we have to offer right now. They like every single thing. They're like, they might be they were kind of like the quietest group here, but they're like, they've participated in everything we've had available. And it was because like most of those kids, I think out of all those 4 kids, I don't think a single one of them up until that point had been like outside the city of San Diego. And that's like common through most of the kids.
They had never seen the stars. Like you go to the Sequoia Mountains, Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon National Park up there. You look up and the stars are just mesmerizing.
Bro,
right?
when we were there, we didn't even get a bunk. So we had to sleep outside.
That's also what they did.
That's part of the program too. They sleep in the bowl, or they sleep on top of the ramps and all that stuff.
They still had like the campsite that first year, and they all camped the entire time. They slept in tent, slept in the full like survival section.
when I go up there with the kids, they sleep in their cabins and that kind of thing, and then I sleep in a tent solo. So I'm not their camp counselor, but I help out while I'm there at camp with them and kind of mentor them a little bit and that type of thing. And that program that Josh was talking about, the elemental awareness, which is now called Skate Wild, is rad.
Yeah.
I mean,
are they still doing archery?
They did archery this year. They did archery. They, you forage for like fruits and food and that type of thing. I made a spoon out of a piece of wood and like a knife kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like a big thing we do from up there.
You use coals from the fire and like burn out the like center section there. I mean, so many things. They do this exercise where you learn how to, what they call fox walk, right? Yeah. Fox walking is what you do when you can't see anything. You don't want to attract a lot of attention. You want to be really careful walking, stepping barefoot. You don't want to just like step really hard where somebody or something could find you and that type of thing. And so they teach you all these amazing skills, and the Rollin From The Heart kids that participated were all in, and they were just really enamored by it for sure.
It's a huge change for them. I mean, it's like skateboarding brought them there, so that's like they're already stoked on that. But then like, I mean, that's a really crazy thing when you want to think about that and like
building shelters, all kinds of things.
Well, even that, but like, we'll bring it back to like how you said, like still to this day, like some of those kids have never like seen the stars. Think about that. Like we're in the city,
that's heavy.
San Diego, like we're really lucky in terms of being a city where you have easy access to the nature, to like the average person. Like when you want to say that, like if you have like the means, you're like you can drive 30 minutes and you're out in the desert. You can see the stars. Like you can Julian's
Like,
right there, like Mount Laguna.
But
like,
most of these kids that are in these programs, they don't even have the resources to go 20, 30 minutes east to view that. They're in the city lights, you know.
And that's kind of like, you know, the great thing about the program, like Rollin From The Heart, and what it does, it's like, that's like, Ian got to do that. Like, Ian grew up skateboarding, and once he got old enough, he started like working on motorcycles, how to motorcycle. Everyone used to go like drive out to Borrego, do like trips across country, like up north, like skateboarding trips, but on the bike, go out to nature and be involved with nature and all
That's
that.
what America did that.
Yeah, America, like, so it's like,
yeah, they did it a few times.
Yes, a couple times. Yeah.
So it's like to be able to like offer that up to kids and be like, hey, yeah, it's a skateboard. It's like this little toy thing that people might be like, oh, whatever. But it's like, this is going to give you access to so much in life. And to be able to like impart that on someone and be like, hey, you've proven like how the kids get to go anyways. Like they're selected based off of like the merit and like how much they put into the program. It's like, you've earned this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like
literally and figuratively a vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For so many ways. In so many ways.
And it changes. Like I've did it the first couple of years, like with getting the kids, like the first group, like that was just like a whole mind-blowing thing for them. Like they were amazing. Like it's really weird, like when you go up and like, mind you, these kids too, like they don't have a lot of them, depending, like don't have a sense of like the skate industry or anything like that. So this is, I should have like preemptively said that, like this is one of the cool parts. It's a very much like, we're just like working with kids who just want to skate, could give a shit about who the biggest pro is, anything like that.
Yeah,
like
stoked.
If a pro comes and helps us, they're like, oh, that's cool, that dude's just really good. Like they just like, there's not like a thought of like, oh my god, that's so and so. It's just like, cool, that's like, this person's just rips, really cool, glad they came out. Like the kids are just stoked that you're taking the time to like work with them.
Well, dude, that's what Shay did. Shay went with like Lanny.
Shay's gone out, like they've all
to
come
Ethiopia. I think
they
went. Like
they all went out. They've done that, and that's like the thing. It's like you're not going there to be like, oh, like we're like putting on this demo. Like they're just stoked that you're coming out to hang out and skate. Like you're willing to take the time, because I think a lot of people forget too with a lot of activities, and this is something too where skateboarding, I think it's one of the really unique things is that people, how we kind of said, like you have the full age range of doing it, and you get this really unique opportunity to have that age of interactions versus, say you play basketball. You can go like play pickup games, but there's only certain cities where you have like pickup games where maybe you have an age range of like 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And that's like, you're calling that lucky. Maybe you're in like New York City, like maybe out here in LA in some spots, but like most sport like activities that you do, like you can't go and really interact with a wide variety of ages. It's like you can do it from this age to this age. Once it's done, there's not really an opportunity for you. You can maybe go play to be in a club, and then hopefully you interact with some people that you like.
Yeah, or you get like Go Vavi or something like that.
Yeah,
like, right over here at the water tower.
Yeah,
dude, they have like all these like all ages. I mean, not all ages, but like they have like teams, and these people are like serious, but they're older too.
Yeah.
Like, but they're all just running back and forth on the soccer field. I'm like, damn, look at them again.
Working with like the kids, it's been
keeps them young too.
Yeah,
100%.
But like we've had it, and I've seen it like over the years, and it's been like, oh, like I've had friends younger than me like come and volunteer, and I've had friends older come and work with these kids, and like it's also people from all different backgrounds, ethnicities, like men, women. Like you start introducing that, and these kids are like, oh, this is cool. Like it kind of gives them like, at the same time too, with like the stuff that they're going through, it's like people care, people are cool, and they're not just going to judge me based off of like this is the background, and like they're taking, like they know, they're not like, these kids aren't dumb, and it's like they know their situation, they're realistic to it too, but they're also like, hey, I respect that you're taking the time out of your own day to come and do this. And I think that makes a huge difference, that minimal interaction, because it doesn't only just affect like that kid, but a lot of these people who come through, who've come over the years to volunteer, they're like, oh, like they know they made a difference, because that kid's like, hey, thanks for doing that. Like you didn't have to do that, you know?
They're grateful.
And it's amazing to see. But like one of the things I kind of went off track with that is like going to skate camp the first year is like, oh, these kids have no idea like who any of these people are. Went to go pick them up, and we're walking through, I'm like, oh my god, it was kind of like before I kind of knew him a little bit, but like Chad Tintin was there. It was like the week the Element dudes are all there, or like New Balance, and they're like, oh my god, that's Chad Tintin. Like in my head I'm thinking that. One of my kids just goes and he's all, oh, what's up, Mr. Tim Tim? Like, how are you doing this morning? And I was just like,
doesn't even know.
I'm like, do you know who that is? He's like, I don't, like, that's just Mr. Tim Tim, right? And I was like, I love this so much. And I'm just like,
really good at a skateboard.
Yeah, he's just, it's just Mr. Tim Tim. It's fine. Like,
dude,
whatever. But like those kids, like for them, they're just interacting with these people, like they love it, and they're just like, oh, just skateboarding, this is cool, and it's already changed their lives that much.
I love it. And I mean,
It's rad.
there's a song. I know you guys have heard it, but it's by Lupe Fiasco called Kick Push. Have you heard the second one?
No,
He has Kick Push 2. It's on the same album. I think you guys should listen to it because I think it's very relevant to what you guys are doing, especially with like at-risk youth or just like less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Because the original one is like, landed kick flip first time when he was 6 or like whatever. Like it's all happy and like kind of talking about falling in love with a girl and then like going to skating with his homies. But the second one, which is what like I related to a lot, which was like he talks about, he's like, once all my friends are gone, he's like talking about how he's like, I just needed a quarter to get some food. And he's like talking about how his sister and him don't have any food, and he's like, he's trying to like go through the gang life, and like all these people in his neighborhood are like, why are you on the skateboard type thing? And he's like, so I kick push, and like he's talking about going past all of these things. Mm-hmm. And it's more of like a darker song, but with the underlining part of it is that he overcame a lot of things again through skateboarding and because of skateboarding. And whether or not he still like is good at skating or whatever, skateboarding affected him enough that like it pushed him to elevate him to become the famous rapper that he is now. And I definitely think you guys should listen to that song. It's super good. But guys, we've already surpassed an hour and 40 minutes. I usually keep it about an hour and a half, but I wanted to. Before we even get out of here, I want to be sure that everybody knows how can they get involved in any of your programs, like whether it's CSEF, anything Board Retailer Association will do, or like if it's a shop, if it's a kid who needs help getting to school, or if it's Rollin From The Heart, how they can help, how they can volunteer, any of the programs.
Yeah, so for CSEF, easiest way is you can reach out on collegeskateboarding.com. There's like a standard contact info, but you can also hit us up on social too, at CSEF. It's really easy. You can search us up on that. We're super interactive on all that. And then Rollin From The Heart, same thing. We have a website. There's like a list of like what you can choose to donate, monetary amounts, like what it goes towards, like what we're in need of. You can reach out on social as well. Either of those platforms are really good. We always do need volunteers down in San Diego, specifically like for skateboarding. And the big thing is, I should say too, you don't have to be like a great skateboarder to do this. You don't even really have to skate that much. If you like skateboarding and you're down to like hold a kid's hand, help them roll around on a skateboard, help them drop in, that alone, like this isn't like going out and being like, you need to be a pro skater, you need to do this. It's like just being able to do that little bit makes such a big difference for anyone. So if anyone wants to come out and do that, that's what we're here for.
Definitely, and we could actually use some female instructors / mentors for our program, because there's a lot of girls in these programs that are very misguided or underguided, and it
and just have representation in the mix too. It's like,
yeah,
at school, like I know, like I've been doing this, but I'm also like, I'm a dude. Like I've had some friends over the years like come through, like women come through, and like I had an ex-girlfriend at one point. She came through, she's like, does not skate, like came out, didn't even have the shoes, and the girl's like, oh my god, like can you just hang out with me and like roll around, like just take her. She's like, what do you mean?
Just
like
having the conversation and hanging out with them, it's great.
They like, as long as you hold their hands like while they're rolling on a skateboard, like that alone makes a huge difference. And I think people kind of get scared, so if you want to do that for Rollin From The Heart, like you can do that. It's not the hardest thing. Like it's a great environment, the kids will love you. It's
super fulfilling. I love doing it. I do 3 after-school programs every week for Rollin From The Heart, and I absolutely dig it. And as far as Board Retailers Association goes, if you're a skate shop or surf shop or snowboard shop anywhere in the country, you can opt into the free membership. We also have a distinguished retail membership. Just direct message at Board Retailers Association on Instagram, or go to boardretailers.org to click on the join form and opt in. So that, we also have vendor partnerships and things along those lines. But if you're a vendor or a brand that wants to participate, then same thing, direct message Board Retailers at Board Retailers Association as far as that goes.
Whew. Guys, I want to talk to you off the air about this, but like I definitely want to get more involved, because like I said, my past and what I've done with raising funds for the kids of OB Elementary, like this is something I definitely want to get involved in, and like see how I can help. Especially being a skateboarder. I mean, like, I have, of my tattoos, I have like 3 tattoos that are strictly for skateboarding or done by skateboarders, or like, I would not be who I am today without without my skateboard. And I still have it. So it's like, I'm still going on skate trips. I'm 36 years old. Like, it's seriously so inspiring to me to hear what you guys are doing and hearing like your origin stories behind that. I mean, I tell everybody you're going to be back on the show, which is true. But I want to keep this, how do I put this? Like, this conversation going. I want to get more involved with this, because there's things like I do outside, and again, I'll talk to you about this afterwards, but like, there's things that I do that I don't put in social media. I don't even tell anybody that I do it, except for maybe like Sav or like my mom, with my coffee. And it's just like giving back and doing other things. So it's like, however I can help, I can help. I want to get involved, like 100% across all of it, like whether it's board retailers, CSEF, Rollin From The Heart, all of it, any of it, whatever. But yeah, dude, no, I'm very glad you guys stopped by. I mean, I'm glad I have the rapport with you guys from just outside of you guys coming to the coffee shop, but to see both of you together and to have you here, it's like, yo, this is so fucking dope. And yeah, I feel very privileged to have, like, you know, taken some time from you guys. I know you guys have a family and you guys are doing like other things and you're super busy. So I just want to say again, for me, I want to thank you so much. Like, this conversation has really been eye-opening, and I feel very honored to have like shared this time with you guys. So honestly, like, I really appreciate it, guys.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
this was great.
No, I appreciate it, and thanks for taking the time too. And I mean, it's just the little things that make a big difference. So you just having us on here to talk about it, open up, and I think for anyone that's listening to, it's like, you don't have to go out and do something like crazy. It's like, if you want to go, find that little organization by you that does like a little skate meetup, whatever. If you're into that, if you do a surf thing, like, there's always something around. It's like, just take that opportunity and be like, you know what, I can give up this Saturday, this Friday afternoon to just go help out. Like, yep. You do it once and you'll realize like the difference that you can make.
Yeah.
So
every little bit counts, and I'm glad you said that, dude. I literally said that to one of my homies yesterday. For me, it's cool to have your big flashy material things, but for me, I'm a little things person. It's the little things, whether the extra thought or the extra detail or just that, like, that extra care, like, that to me is everything. So yes, thank you for saying that. All right, guys, tell them where they can find you personally.
You can find me on Instagram at Broshua. It's BROSHUACROWE. That you can look me up online, Joshua J. Rowe, for portfolio work, whatever, photo stuff that I do too. And then on CSEF, I handle like the social for that, and same for Rollin.
All right.
My Instagram is at DougWorks.
Yes.
And
He gets an OG
I don't
handle.
post a ton, but I'll post a little bit here and there. So feel free to direct message me on that.
Dude, I'm going to DM you just randomly and be like, hey, your beard looks great today. Even if I didn't see you.
Well, it usually does.
The stuff that's going to come out of this
Dude.
for just the beard alone. People are going to be like, what do you, like, we have to go find this?
You have to go find his beard. It's amazing. You should start an Instagram just for your beard. Like, and it's just every photo.
I mean, it
just
already
like
has
under
its
the
own
nose.
area code.
Just do it. Do you remember, like, this is the corniest little nerd skate thing that I did on, but like when they used to do, this dude from Canada did it, and it was for Frank Ure, and it was just like a blog dedicated to Frank Ure's nose.
Wow.
And
Was
it's
it
like,
really?
it's so good, and it's like done like in well taste, but just being like everything for Frank Ure and his nose. And you're like, you could just do that, Doug. Just do the beard.
Yeah. All right.
I'm
Well,
super
I
down.
did want to, like, while we're still on
Yeah.
or whatnot, shout out my wife Danielle and my little daughter Winona. They're awesome.
Yes.
And Winona is almost 5 years old, doing switch laser flips down double sets.
Oh, what?
No, just she can stand on a skateboard and push a little bit and that kind of thing. But just shout out to them. They're awesome.
Yes, I love it. Dude, shout them out. You want to get any shout outs?
I guess I should really shout out John and Allison, the founders of Rollin From The Heart. They've just been really great people to me over the years, really supportive, helped me through a lot of like personal stuff in general, through school, the opportunities I've had with them with Rollin From The Heart. I do owe a really big shout out to Tommy Barker too. just for everything that he's done within the local skate community, for founding like Poots, like what he did with IAS, to me and him, like the work that we got to do with Rollin From The Heart from the beginning, and him bringing me on board to college skateboarding, to be able to like have worked with him so much, and like what we've been able to give back to skateboarding. So
Sick.
Just wanted to say thank you to those guys.
Yes. All right, guys, that's where we'll leave it. So, yes, guys, thank you so much again. I appreciate everything. Peace. Yes, thank you so much, gentlemen. That was an amazing conversation. And guys, if you want to get involved, definitely go to any of the links that they, any of the social media pages that they said, you know, Rollin From The Heart, CSEF, and the Board Retailers Association. I mean, I'm definitely going to be getting involved, so I hopefully to see all of you out there. And it's just a great cause, so let's help some kids, either at-risk youth or just guys who want, or guys and girls who want to get into college, who love skateboarding. I love it. It was great. So guys, thank you again. And lastly, I want to say thank you again to everybody around the world who continues to support Caffeine and Green every week by listening, by coming into the shop, getting coffee, whatever. I appreciate all of you around the world. I mean, Poland, I can't believe it. I love you guys. Australia was popping, United States, everywhere in the States. Like, everywhere around the world, thank you. I appreciate all of you so, so much. And yeah, guys, we have some amazing, amazing guests coming up the next couple weeks. I'm really excited. Hit me with that DM if you have some guests that I haven't thought of or you want to hear their story. I'm always, always open to it. So guys, until then, I'll see you next week. Peace!